Lord almighty, I hate opening a new house, the housekeeper muttered. Go with Lena, young lady. I can't be bothered figuring out what to do with you just now. Lena, a maid with brilliant red hair and the expected number of freckles scattered across her nose to go with it, pulled a face as the housekeeper disappeared. Sounds like the new cook won't last any longer than the first one, she said, shrugging. Hurry up, will you? I've got better things to do than play nursemaid. Quiet descended as they made their way upstairs, the sound of servants concealed like their presence behind closed doors. Vivian hid a yawn behind her hand as she followed. Delivering dresses instead of making them meant she no longer spent hours hunched over a sewing machine or a tray of beads, but her days still started early, and her nights often didn't end until 2 or 3 in the morning. She stumbled a little as her feet sank into the plush carpet that ran up the stairs, and she blinked rapidly, looking around to keep herself alert. The Fifth Avenue mansion was like so many she had visited, deliveries in hand. Sweeping ceilings, marble floors, glass windows like works of art. Most of them were gilded, decorated, and filled to within an inch of their lives, temples to success and excess both. But this one felt half-finished, its tables bare of ornaments, paintings leaning against the walls instead of hung on them. Lena caught her glancing around. New house, she said, by way of explanation as they made their way to the second floor. Well, old house but new family in it. They're still settling in. Did you come with them? Vivian asked, glad the other girl was willing to make conversation. She hated walking through big houses in silence. It reminded her too much of life in the orphan home. Lena shook her head as she swung open a heavy paneled door. Most of us are new too, which is why they're all shouting at each other downstairs. Are they at it again? A mild voice asked from inside the room. Both girls jumped, and a stricken look crossed Lena's face as she dropped a quick curtsy. Beg your pardon, Mr. Buchanan. I didn't mean... That's all right. The older gentleman didn't move from the wingback chair where he was installed, legs propped on a footstool and a cigar between 2 fingers, the window behind him cracked to let fresh air in and smoke out. But there was a smile on his face as he winked at the maid. God knows we've been a mess since the house was opened, and we likely will be for several weeks yet. Do you think the new cook will last? Lena giggled, her blush nearly as bright as her hair. Not if Mrs. Mulligan has anything to say about it, sir. And even I don't dare cross Mrs. Mulligan. He made a little shooing motion with his free hand. Off you go. I'll keep our guest company. Yes, sir, Lena curtsied. There was something sly in her sideways glance, something that made the back of Vivian's neck prickle warily. Lena smiled. I'll tell Mrs. Buchanan you're waiting when she arrives. Thank you, Vivian said. But she only glanced at the maid briefly as she said it, not wanting to take her eyes off Mr. Buchanan after seeing Lena's smile. There was a tray on the table in front of him, with a silver carafe that was still steaming, and a cut glass decanter of some amber liquid. The smell of strong, good coffee filled the air, and Vivian had to hold back another yawn. Buchanan set down his cigar long enough to take a drink from his cup as he looked her over. Judging by appearances alone, he was the sort of man she often saw at the Nightingale, the kind who waited for an old-fashioned waltz to ask pretty girls onto the dance floor. Their shoulders were still broad, and their gray hair made them look distinguished instead of stooped and tired like the men where Vivian lived. They wore expertly tailored clothes, the fabric so luxurious that she wanted to rub her cheek against them like a cat while they danced. They threw a little money around because it made them feel important, drank and danced because it made them feel young. Buchanan smiled, beckoning her forward with a hooked finger as he took a puff from his cigar. Vivian stepped farther into the room. Plenty of men like him were polite, harmless even, gallantly trying to recapture the feel of their youth. And some of them she wouldn't trust farther than a Charleston kick. You're very kind, sir, but I'm not a guest. I'm the dressmaker. I can see that, he said, still smiling as he nodded toward the boxes she held. You can put those down if you like and take a seat. I promise I won't think you're shirking. I've no idea when Mrs. Buchanan will return. He shook his head, looking a little embarrassed.